Hello everyone and welcome to Trailer Tuesday. Okay, so Tuesday is the Tuesday before the next patch comes out, and that means ArenaNet have released their next trailer. Pretty mellow trailer all around, stuff you generally expect, some interesting shots of Destiny's Edge, and then all of a sudden there's a huge lore bomb at the end. We see Rytlock in what would appear to be at first the Ascalon Catacombs, I'll talk about in a second, slamming one of the legendary swords, Sohothin, presumably, or Magdea, into the ground and saying, "Ascalon, I free you from your curse." This sets the story off in a massive tangent I certainly didn't see coming. I've done a lot of speculation over this week of where the story might go, and I didn't see this one. So I'm here to talk to you guys about the trailer, mostly that shot at the end. I will do a little bit of a sum up of the other things we saw. The theme of the patch is that alliances are broken, and given the end of the previous Living Story stuff, it looks like we're going to be going on a bit of a tour of Tyria, trying to unite the many races and convince them that, hey look, Morgemoth is a threat, in addition to this stuff with going with the Pale Tree. And so it would make sense that this trailer is now showing us, for example, heirs to Golkin. So there's going to be some story there, some continuation, which actually, for what it's worth, I'm quite happy about, considering Bram is, in my opinion, the most dull character in the Living Story right now. The only redeeming thing about him is his connection to Air, and it'll be nice to see them explore it a little bit more. It looks like Morgemoth's corruption is spreading. Indeed, the patch is called Dragon's Reach, and even there are some hints at Jormag's minions. This is a lot of people are saying, oh, you know, maybe it's going to be a fight between Morgemoth and Jormag, and we're going to have two dragons at once. I'm not going to go that crazy. I simply believe that we're going to have some kind of setup where, in order to get Air on side with us, she's going to say, well, look, I've got my own problems with the Ice Brood. Will you help me deal with them? So we go fight a bunch of Ice Brood, and then she comes out to help us. That's what I think's going to happen. And considering we only see a couple of members of Destiny's Edge this patch, I also think maybe this idea of bringing all the alliances together, much like what we were doing in Personal Story, might be spread over the next few patches, and it just means that one of the first ones we're going to be doing is the Norn. That's why I believe we're seeing some Ice Brood in this trailer. That's all I've got to say about that stuff. Let's look at the Rytlock thing, the thing that most people are very interested in. I'll do a very quick recap for you guys on the story so far. Back in October of last year, quite a while ago now, while I was doing the original Gw2 Mysteries, I did do a full piece on this story because it is one of the outstanding mysteries. I do remember at the time of recording that video, I was a little bit skeptical about it. Some of these Gw2 Mysteries that I've done, they're on the big questions, right? And things that would be very hard for ArenaNet to answer. And I remember having a very strong skepticism in me that was it even worth talking about? How could the devs even go in this direction? And now suddenly, out of the blue, this trailer has seemed to have made it relevant somehow. So here's the story. I won't go over the full thing. There will be a link in the description if you want to check out that video. It will catch you up much better. I had much more knowledge on the topic when I've been researching it back then than I do now. But the general gist of the story is this, okay? The Char are attacking Ascalon. King Adalbern is on his last legs. He's holed up in Ascalon City. And as a last middle finger to the Char, as they're about to overrun him, he unleashes something called the Faux Fire. He invokes this ancient ritual that destroys everything in sight, annihilates loads of the Char. Not all of them, but loads of the Char. Worse, it curses his people to never find rest in death. And forever since that happened, about 200 years of time have passed since this point, they have roamed Ascalon as undead that can never be defeated. The Char have been fighting battles on many fronts, the most recent of which has been the arrival of Kralkatorrik and the creation of the brand, but the ghosts have always been a thorn in their side. There's actually some vague story in the Black Citadel 2 of the Char trying to find ways to kill ghosts and keep them permanently dead, but it was said the only way to undo this curse, to lay the soldiers of Ascalon to rest once more, get rid of all this ghost, this undead problem, is for the rightful king of Ascalon to return with both swords. Sohothin, which was wielded by Prince Rurik, and Magdea, which was by his father, King Adalbern. So they set this up before Guild Wars 2 came out. When Guild Wars 2 launched, we had the Ascalon Catacombs story. This whole story happened because when you're level 30 and Kaith tried to get Destiny's Edge back together in Lion's Arch, everyone has a squabble and they walk away from one another. Air picks up on the fact that Logan and Rytlock don't like one another, and Logan is pretty sour that Rytlock has Sohothin, one of these ancient swords. So Air's solution to this problem is to go to Ascalon Catacombs where Magdea, the other sword, is resting. She'll grab it, she'll repair it up, and she'll give it to Logan, and everyone will be happy-go-lucky. That's what happens in story mode of that dungeon. You do retrieve Magdea. So we have both swords. Rytlock had Sohothin, and Air had Magdea. It was her plan to give that to Logan after repairing it, but then that never happened in the personal story. Instead, a load of other stuff happened. Logan and Rytlock made up anyway because of what happened in the Citadel of Flames, and the story of the sword was forgotten. Well, now we have a patch where we're going back to Air, and the presumption here would be that since all that time of the personal story and Zaitan's fall, Air has... What's Air even been doing? Maybe she's still just, you know, slowly been working on this sword Mag Day, and now in this patch coming up next Tuesday, we'll see the conclusion of that story. We'll see both swords be reunited, but under what circumstance? It's very weird what ArenaNet showed us here. They showed us Rytlock undoing the curse of Ascalon. Well, we had always been led to believe it had to be the true king of Ascalon to do this. There are various interpretations. Number one, and I think this is lame as hell, and this is what most comments I've seen about the trailer people seem to be excited about. Interpretation number one is that Rytlock is the true king of Ascalon. Please, no. The idea here would be that Ascalon was originally Charlands, and then the humans came, and now the Char are back. So who is the rightful king right now? Well, the Char. But here's the thing, it deteriorates. The Char don't name themselves kings. You could say that this is meant to be a loophole in the prophecy, but I don't believe it at all. This was a human-invoked ritual based on humans wielding the swords. The swords came from ore, presumably forged either by the gods or the humans. It's all human-slanted. This is not Rytlock is the true king. Besides even that, even if it did sort of work and you could make sense of it in the lore, isn't it just kind of lame to say, oh yeah, Rytlock, this character with kind of a sort of a mysterious backstory to do with his warband, to say, oh no, suddenly this guy's the king? I mean, how cliche and lame would that be? No, I don't like it at all. I don't think the answer here is that Rytlock is the king. I think this still has to do with the humans. This trailer isn't actually taking place in the Ascalon catacombs. The catacombs are just where we found the ghost of the king, King Adalbern, and we took his sword. Where you're actually seeing this trailer take place is Duke Baradin's vault. Now, if you've ever played a Char, you will have been to this location. This is where the Char tutorial stuff happens. It's where you kill that giant ghost in a statue. Why would it be happening here? Well, there's actually very good reason for that. Some of you might not know, Duke Baradin is actually, I wouldn't say he's one of my favourite characters in the series, but he's got a special place for me. My account name in Gw2 2 is Baradin. It's named after him. He's a very interesting character in the... Let's rewind the clock, okay? Back to just before Guild Wars 1 started. Back then, humans lived in Ascalon, humans lived in Cryer, humans lived in Ore, and they ended up warring with one another. These were the Guild Wars, okay? Which some will tell you the series is named after. During the Guild Wars, there was a king of Ascalon, but eventually he passed away. He was killed, right? And it came time to name a new king. Now, the rightful heir, the man with the blood of King Doric, the one who was supposed to be king, was this man, Baradin. But instead of making Baradin the king, the people of Ascalon instead made a man named Adalbern the king. Now, he had no true claim, no true right to the throne, but during the Guild Wars, he had been this particularly prominent hero, this great soldier, this person who'd inspired courage and fire within the lands of Ascalon, and so he became king. Now, you might say that makes no sense. How can the people of Ascalon just suddenly go back on this idea of the blood of King Doric? How can they make a king where there is no royal blood? Well, it seems they had a plan for that. See, Baradin's daughter, Lady Althea, was going to marry Adalbern's son, Prince Rurik, and in that way, for their proposed future, the future heirs to the throne would once again have royal blood. And it was like a loophole. It was a way of them saying, right, we need a better king than Baradin can be for now, but by doing this, we can once again bring the royal blood back into rule of Ascalon. But that didn't work. Lady Althea was killed by the Char, and eventually, Prince Rurik died too at the hands of the Stone Summit. This left Adalbern in charge alone, and he was the one that led Ascalon to ruination. And you get to the point at the start of Guild Wars 1 where you could speak to Baradin, who was now just a duke, and he didn't seem particularly sour about the fact he wasn't king. But if we're talking about rituals and incarnations and rites and, you know, the true blood, the blood of King Doric, really, Adalbern, despite being appointed that as Ascalon, Baradin is still the more important character, and I've always liked that idea. You know, it's kind of a sad story, but it's also muted in a way, and you can draw other conclusions from it. You can say, oh, well, look, as soon as the Ascalon people turned their back on the blood of King Doric and so forth, it was at this same moment that Ascalon as a human nation plummeted, because it was at this moment that the Char attacked, and then everything just got devastated. And it's something the series never goes into, but I love the idea that there were townspeople out there who were saying, oh, we made a mistake making Adalbern the king. It was Adalbern's racism towards the Crichtons that, you know, prevented them being able to offer aid to Ascalon, and eventually led to their downfall. So, let's go back to this trailer. Where are we? I don't think Rytlock's king. I don't think any Char has the right to end the curse. That's what makes this story so good. This is why it's such a big middle finger from Adalbern. The Char have to eventually one day form some kind of truce or some kind of alliance with the humans to get them to undo this curse. That's the beautiful thing about this story. If you then turn around and say, oh, well, a Char can end the ritual, then that just entirely cuts away from the cool underlying narrative of that plot. So, what do we have? We have Rytlock, yes, slamming the sword into the ground, but he's in Duke Barradin's crypt. What if he's slamming it into the ground? That's not actually him breaking the curse. Maybe he's going to the ghost of Duke Barradin and pleading with him, look, I have both swords. You were the rightful king. You were cut down during the Char invasion. You are the last rightful heir. Please, Duke Barradin, end this curse. That's what I think we're seeing in this trailer. I think what we're saying is we're going to go to Air. We're going to get her on side. She's going to say, oh, look, I've got Magdair sorted out. We go to Rytlock and he says, well, I've got my hands full too. You know, I've got Kralkatorrik and I've got the ghosts. But Air's with us and she says, you know, maybe we can do something about this. I don't think this plot is going to tie into the mystery of where Rytlock originally got Sahothin. That's this whole other mystery, like Sahothin was with Prince Rurik, who died on the Fire Island chain, and then randomly Rytlock has it. Maybe it will go into that story. That's a long-standing mystery I think ArenaNet should at some point delve into, but maybe they'll leave that one for later. Anyway, that's my theory about the plot for so far. There was a hint to this as well. This really blindsided me, but you guys might remember last patch in the Leyline Cave, there were a bunch of interactable objects and research notes we could read. One of them was written by scholar Abel, and was actually talking about the idea of the ghosts and harnessing ghosts for energy. Whether that's really going to tap into things or not, I don't know. But that's definitely ArenaNet last patch hinting to us, hey, there's going to be something to do with the ghosts of Ascalon. The last question on my mind, truly, is why are they now suddenly going into this story? I mean, mechanically, it raises a lot of interesting questions. How are they going to evolve the world now that the ghosts have been destroyed? Actually, destroying the ghosts is going to be a great example of how living world can change Tyria as time goes by, but I'm a little bit worried with its impact on the personal story. I'm currently playing through on my Ranger character again, and it's really stupid when you go do, say, Order of Whispers missions in Lion's Arch, which are acting as if it's a bustling city, and really you're just in the ruins of it with no one around whatsoever. It can be funny, but after a while you realise it's just destroying your immersion of the personal story. If they're now saying, okay, the ghosts are being lifted from Ascalon, this is going to change things in a big way. There's a lot of events in Guild Wars 2 based on those ghosts being there. Is this ArenaNet saying, alright, next patch there's not going to be much in Drytop, but we're basically changing everything about the way many of the Ascalon areas work? Nearly all of those ghost-based events are being replaced by other things. That's a huge endeavor. That's a massive undertaking. I suppose changing the ghosts rather than the physical landscape of the maps is going to be easy, because all they have to do is change enemy spawns, but implementing the new dynamic events, I can't see everything happening and finishing in this one patch. Maybe it's going to be a long-term goal of theirs to slowly revamp the Char areas. They say, oh yes, the curse has been broken, and first the areas around the catacombs are being repaired, and oh look, now Ascalon City is, and it will slowly spread, giving them time to incrementally develop that stuff. But the other thing I'm wondering is, you know, why go in this direction at all right now? We have stuff happening in Drytop. I've put up a video about speculation to do with the Bloodstones. Why are they now doing this thing to do with the human bloodlines and turning, say, to Duke Barradin? Well, maybe there's a connection there, because there was the pendant in the most recent patch that was talking about it would point to the true heir of Kryta, I think it was, wasn't it? That's what that pendant was, the true heir of Kryta. So we're looking for the true heir of Ascalon, but maybe they're going to be pointing out that many of these bloodlines are going to get cut away. I really do think there's going to be some kind of assassination attempt on our queen, and when that happens, people might then start saying, well, the ghosts can never be lifted, and then this plot comes in to say, oh no, the curse can still be removed through Duke Barradin instead. Maybe that's why they're going with the story, but we'll just have to see. Anyway, there you go, guys. That's my speculation on the trailer. 1 week until we get to see the conclusions. I do have some other speculation I want to be talking about soon. My final thoughts on the Eternal Alchemy, the conclusions I've really drawn from it, and stuff to do with the Pale Tree, really, I haven't talked about much on the channel. Let me know what you thought about the trailer, though. That's my interpretation. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.